Ooh, Bad Larry.
Welcome back, Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry, and today we're checking out X Factor number 23. And this one is a big one. Written by Louise Simonson and penciled by her husband, Walter Simonson. And what a great cover. We're seeing our X Factor heroes battling the villainous, treacherous, traitorous Cameron Hodge and his derpy green Mechsuit Soldiers. And let me know down in the comments below if you think Cameron Hodge should be ranked higher in terms of a top tier X-Men X Factor villains list. They are X Factor mutants, born with a wild card in their genetic structure that gives them more than human powers. Until recently, under the direction of X Factor's PR expert Cameron Hodge, who was a snake in the grass, dirty son of a bitch, they pretended to be human mutant hunters while secretly collecting a group of young mutants and training them in their use of their powers. Now, an organization known as the Right has kidnapped their charges. X Factor plans to get them back. For Cameron Hodge's super duper secret base, he only has one derpy security guard guarding the perimeter. Caliban wants to kill him, but Jean Grey's like, settle down now, Caliban. We're not human killers, okay? His little pew 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 is no match for our powers. Watch. Cyclops take him out with the babiest of optic blast. One super duper baby optic blast coming up. Bing! Look, Caliban, guard is knocked out. Easy peasy, over the fence, lemon squeezy. Then Cyclops says, Caliban, which way now? To the X Factor children. But the X Factor children have on these helmets, which are dampening their mutant abilities, which means Caliban cannot detect them. Poor Caliban, useless again. X Factor is using their super sneaky method to enter the facility from a skylight. The Beast snatches up one of the derpy guards and says, where are the kids being held? And out of the blue, the derpy guard's chest just explodes. He falls to the ground dead without being able to answer Beast's question. Our X Factor heroes are baffled by this human derpy guard's self-elimination. Marvel Girl says, why in the heck would this guy kill himself? We were just asking him a simple question. Cyclops deduces that the Right has provided that derpy guard with an implant that, if questioned, would detonate to protect the Right's secrets. Being a henchman for the Right is almost as bad as being a henchman for Hydra. Not good for your health. The Beast picks up a desk like a baseball and throws it through the door in an extraordinary display of strength. Cyclops says to Beast, number one, wow, that was pretty awesome. How are you so strong? And two, that was absolutely strategically dumb. We're supposed to be sneaking around and you're over here throwing desks through doors. What were you thinking, Beast? I thought you were supposed to be the big brain of the group. Beast responds to Cyclops in a very interesting manner. He says that ever since Pestilence touched him back in X Factor 19, his strength has been growing and growing, but every time he uses its strength, it seems harder to think. It seems like the Beast is actually turning into a feral beast, thanks to the death touch from Apocalypse's horseman, Pestilence. You can't tell me that Louise Simonson isn't a staunch Democrat. Remember, this issue was written in 1988. The president of the time was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's vice president is George H.W. Bush. You can't tell me that Cameron Hodge isn't the spitting image of George H.W. Bush. So if you're a staunch Democrat, which is left-leaning, and you want to write a story about an evil villainous group, you're going to call it the Right, which is the opposite of your party, and then make the head of that party a spitting image of a political opponent in George H.W. Bush. It makes total sense. Well, down deep in the secret bunker, Cameron Hodge has all of the X Factor kids hooked up to the testing machine. He wants to test the limits of their powers and then turn them into slaves for humanity. Sounds like a real great guy. Our X Factor heroes have infiltrated Cameron Hodge's complex, but Cameron Hodge laughs it off. He's prepared for all of this. Cameron Hodge tells his henchmen that he's going to go deal with X Factor, and if he's not back in 10 minutes, to kill the kids. Our X Factor kids know that their time is limited. They may not be able to use their powers, but they're all together. They have minds. They need to think of a way to try to get out of this situation. The derpy green Mechsuit Soldiers start attacking X Factor, and Iceman throws up a quick ice shield. Cyclops throws out an optic blast attack, and the green Mechsuit Soldiers retreat. Beast follows these Mechsuit Soldiers like a dog chasing after a tennis ball. Cyclops tries to tell Beast to stop. Think! They're retreating too quickly. It's a trap. The Beast has become a serious liability after he was touched by pestilence. He may be way stronger right now, but in the heat of battle, he's way dumber. Beast is trying to ram the walls, but they're too strong. Cyclops is trying to shoot his optic blast, but the blasts are just ricocheting off the walls. Marvel Girl is trying to use her telekinesis to move the machines and move the walls, but says they're too powerful and too heavy, and says, what are they made of? Cameron Hodge just shows up out of nowhere and says, number 1, X Factor, you're all trash, and number 2, you're all fired, and number 3, Cyclops, you don't recognize this material? It's the ruby quartz that protects everyone from being obliterated by your optic blast. And just like any typical James Bond villain, Cameron Hodge is too cocky. He feels that he has X Factor right where he wants them. So he decides to spill the beans to Cyclops and says it was him who engineered the amputation of Angel's wings and caused his suicide. It was him who kidnapped the X Factor kids and created anti-mutant hysteria. It was him who threatened San Francisco. It was him who created the massacre in New York. And now that he has control of all of Warren Worthington III's money, he says his plans have been a total success. And Cyclops says success and launches an optic blast attack at Cameron Hodge. But unfortunately, this is just a hologram of Cameron Hodge. Then all of a sudden, all of our heroes start feeling real dizzy and are about to pass out. Oh no, all of our heroes are unconscious. The hologram of Cameron Hodge tells his henchmen to put the power blockers on all of the X Factor heroes' heads, analyze them, and then destroy them. As soon as the hologram of Cameron Hodge fades away, Cyclops pops up with an optic blast and says, "Ha! Gotcha, bitch!" Marvel Girl threw up a telekinetic force field around the entire team the second she smelled that knockout gas. And Cyclops blasts one henchman into Never Never Land, and Beast tosses another henchman into one of the junction boxes. Cameron Hodge may be a clever little snake in the grass, but our heroes still have some tricks up their sleeves. While miles above Manhattan floats the invisible, near impregnable fortress of Apocalypse. Apocalypse is actually okay with everything that's going on with X Factor. He says that the right is testing both their ingenuity and their strength, which, as we know, Apocalypse only cares about the strongest mutants of them all. And just like X Factor is being tested in their strength and ingenuity, he wants to test his 3 horsemen against his 4th and final horseman, Death. And whoever wins the battle will become the leader of all the horsemen. So it's about to be 3 against 1. Wow, what a transformation! Angel's feather wings have been replaced by these techno-organic metal wings. And because Apocalypse used his own DNA to transform Angel, then Angel's skin has now turned the same shade of blue as Apocalypse. As he's busting in, he says, "I am Death." Everybody should really appreciate this page in this series, as Louise Simonson had forever transformed Angel into this creation that we now see. Now remember, Angel was created back in 1963, and this issue was released in 1988. So for 25 years, Angel looked like a human with feather wings. And because of her, and because of this issue, for the next 35 years, up until now, 2023, we see Archangel as her new transformed version of this character. It's so amazing. I'm still so amazed that Stan Lee and Marvel would have allowed Louise Simonson to alter one of their main X-Men characters, Angel, in such a dramatic fashion. And I'm also amazed that this transformation has stuck for 35 years. If you haven't hit the like button already, please hit the like button now for the transformation and return of Angel as Apocalypse's 4th horseman, Death. Death quickly dispatches the other 3 horsemen with ease. And Apocalypse says, "Excellent. You have chosen the strongest to lead you. Death will lead you, and you will lead the world to chaos and destruction." Back at Cameron Hodge's evil complex, the X Factor kids have just gotten lucky. When Beast threw that henchman into the power junction box, it caused all the lights to go out and all the electricity to go off, which released all of our X Factor kids from their restraints. And there's only one evil henchman that they have to subdue, but he's an adult man with a machine gun, and they're just a bunch of kids with no powers right now, as long as they're wearing those silver power dampening helmets. And the evil henchman comes back and says, "Your 10 minutes is up, Now it's time to die, you stupid, ugly little muties. In a fit of rage and unprecedented strength and courage, Richter uses his head and uses that helmet to knock out that henchman. Then he picks up the henchman's gun and destroys the testing and torture equipment, vowing that no mutant will ever be tested and tortured like that again, like he was. All the while spewing anti-human hatred. This guy Richter really hates the humans, which is going to pose a problem later if they're able to get out, because Cyclops and X-Factor live Charles Xavier's dream that humans and mutants will live peacefully in coexistence. But it looks like Richter doesn't want that at all. Richter wants to kill the humans, I think. All the X-Factor kids are trying to remove their power dampening helmets, but they just won't come off. They're stuck on. They realize they're going to have to escape the old-fashioned way without any powers. The X-Factor kids have made it to a balcony and are overseeing the Mechsuit Soldiers fighting with their X-Factor heroes. Marvel Girl says every time she uses her telekinesis to push the Mechsuit Soldiers back, that they bounce right back, that there's some kind of rebound mechanism that's blocking her telekinesis. And Cyclops says, yes, and my optic blasts seem to be bouncing right off of their armor as well. Then tells Marvel Girl, for now, just keep the bullets off of us. But Cyclops makes a breakthrough. The Mechsuit Soldiers' joints are a weak point. Cameron Hodge orders his Mechsuit Soldiers to take out Cyclops and Marvel Girl first. Richter says, we gotta help X-Factor, and opens fire like Rambo on the Mechsuit Soldiers. The Beast is trying to pull apart a Mechsuit Soldier with his bare hands, but he's using a lot of strength, so Iceman tells him to stop. He can't use all that strength or he'll go dum-dum. Iceman says, let me handle this one. As Iceman is trying to freeze two Mechsuit Soldiers, another one sneaks up behind him and puts on a power dampening belt across Iceman's waist, which immediately turns off his ice mutant powers. Then the Mechsuit Soldiers have some gall to talk trash to Iceman, saying, yeah, you may have some powers, but we got technology, you little mutant bitch. The Beast is fighting three Mechsuit Soldiers on his own, and even though his strength is greater than it's ever been before, the Mechsuit Soldiers' technology proves stronger. Richter has now run out of bullets and gets a swift backhand from Cameron Hodge, who's now wearing an armor made of the ruby quartz material that Cyclops uses in his visor. Then Cameron Hodge orders his Mechsuit Soldiers to kill everybody. Cyclops tells Jean Grey, I got Cameron Hodge. And Marvel Girl says, but you can't, he's got the ruby quartz armor. And Cyclops says, listen woman, you get those Mechsuit Soldiers, Cameron Hodge's ass is mine. Optic blast to the face, Cameron Hodge. Cameron Hodge is like, that's all you got, Cyclops? You mutants think that you're homo superior? Well, check out this superior left hook, Cyclops. And how about another left punch to the face? How about that? You think you mutants are so smart. Warren thought he was so smart in school, but look who's laughing now. He's dead, I have all his money, and I'm kicking your ass. Cameron Hodge talks about evolution. He says that Homo superior, the mutants, will eventually enslave and cage all the humans if left unchecked, just the way the humans have enslaved and caged all the monkeys. And Cameron Hodge says that without his help, humankind is doomed, and it's up to him to destroy all the mutants. Well, all this destroy the mutant talk has really got Iceman in a frenzy. Back when Iceman was a prisoner of Loki's, he learned how to overload his ice mutant abilities, which he has done now, and he's overloaded the power dampening belt, turning back into Iceman. He must have been listening to that P. Diddy song, Can Nobody Hold Me Down? Oh no. This is another critical moment for Iceman and for this series because, as we know, Iceman lost total control of his powers, but now that the Mechsuit Soldiers put that power dampening belt on his waist, he's actually regained control of his suit, of his ice powers. So it's actually a benefit to him, which is why we will see him use it later in these series. Iceman's ice attack makes some cracks in Cameron Hodge's ruby quartz armor. Cameron Hodge takes out Iceman with a nice uppercut, but Cyclops sees his opportunity. He sees the cracks in the armor. Cyclops tells Cameron Hodge, unlike you and your idiots, me and my crew, we actually work as a team. Cyclops focuses all his energy into a thin, tiny optic blast, which makes it through one of the cracks made by Iceman. Cameron Hodge's ruby quartz armor, which was used for his protection, has now become his pinball prison. Cyclops' optic blast has made it inside Cameron Hodge's armor, which is now bouncing recklessly inside, tearing Cameron Hodge apart. A final optic blast fells Cameron Hodge for good. Cyclops goes over to inspect Cameron Hodge. It's a gosh darn robot! The voice of Cameron Hodge comes through the robot, laughing at Cyclops and his team, saying, "You think I put my real body in this kind of danger?" The voice of Cameron Hodge says, "You may have won this battle, but there's still much more left to do. And I still control all of Warren Worthington III's money. So try and come at me, bros." There's a war now between the humans and mutants, and with all that money, there's nothing that can stop him. Wow, what a bunch of plot twists in this issue. The real Cameron Hodge has escaped, and this robot version of itself has self-detonated. Cameron Hodge also can't leave any evidence or any trace of this operation at this facility. He set the facility to self-detonate as well. Marvel Girl gets everybody out just in time before the place explodes. When they land, Cyclops is able to use his powerful optic blast to destroy all the power dampening helmets on the X-Factor kids. And then he tells Bubblegum Head Arthur that the only way that mutants and humans can live together in peace is if the humans want to live in peace. And right now, they seem to not want to live in peace. And Marvel Girl tells Cyclops, "No, you gotta believe. You have to believe that there must be peace." And of course, Apocalypse is watching this whole thing from his invisible floating base high above Manhattan. And he says, "Peace. There will never be peace between humans and mutants. Mutants must destroy the humans and be tested to gain more strength." He then tells his 4 horsemen, "My horsemen, be prepared. You'll be tested against the likes of X-Factor." And then, with a switch, he teleports the X-Factor team right from the eyes of the X-Factor kids right onto his ship. The X-Factor kids are stunned. They recognize that light as the ones that appeared when the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse came. And Boom Boom's like, "Isn't there 4 horsemen of the apocalypse?" And now they're terrified because they know they can do absolutely nothing to help their X-Factor heroes. Wow, what a crazy episode. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on the transformation of Angel into Apocalypse's fourth horseman called Death. Make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow for episode number 24 of X-Factor. X-Factor versus the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse. The battle is on, baby.